Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Right Guys podcast. Did you know Donald Trump just kicked Zelensky right out of the White House? It was classic. And now your hosts, Josh Hammerling and Max McGuire.
Oh man, what did we just watch? Listen.
Oh my god, dude!
Welcome back to the podcast, Right Guys podcast. Give us a thumbs up, give us a like, give us a follow.
It's Christmas. It's
Covering
Christmas.
this back and forth. And I think I said yesterday, I don't know if this mineral deal is going to go through, because every time we think it's going to go through, he backtracks. Every time he says not gonna do it, they switch it. You know what this was like, and I'm sure many people watch it. We're going to play some of the clips. So again, give us a thumbs up, give us a like, comment, follow, share, all that fun stuff. YouTube, Rumble, and X. Before we play the clips, you know what this felt like? This felt like the times I've argued with my wife, and I have to choose between being right and just having a peaceful house. Right? There are a lot of times I'm arguing with my wife, and I know I'm right, but you know what? Happy wife, happy life. There are times where I've dug my feet in. I'm like, oh no, I'm right. And guess what? I end up sleeping on the couch. That was Zelensky today. He was in there for one purpose: to get peace for his people, end the war, and you're going to have to give up something for it. And where this went to shit was, you could see he's rolling his eyes. You could see he watching him. It felt like when I was on Conservative Daily Podcast and I would hear things, I'd be like, you know what I mean? That's what it felt like. That's what it felt like. You hear things and you're like, don't react. But all of a sudden your eyes start twitching. Like Trump says, $350 billion. You can see Zelensky's like, it was not 350. It was 175. You could tell. You could tell what he was going on about. And he had a choice. Do you walk out of there with a deal and maybe the world doesn't see that you stood your ground on whatever fact? Or do you argue and lose it? And Zelensky got the geopolitical version of you're sleeping on the couch. He got kicked out of the White House.
Has that happened in modern era? Like there's a negotiation and they're like, all right, we're done. The last time I remember a big kind of meeting like this is when like Reagan turns on the Russians, right? He walks out on the Russians during the talks. It was a big American movement. This kind of felt one of those moments where it was, America flexing the diplomatic muscles without having to flex the big war muscles, right?
Usually what happens is in these kind of diplomatic things, you have months of prep work. And it will go through the lower levels, the mid levels, the State Department levels. And then it finally gets to the president. Everything's worked out. And then it's just, okay, sign on the dotted line. It's over. All the hard work is done. With this, it's not going that way. Obviously, Trump has had Marco Rubio. He's had some of his cabinet officials involved in this. But this is still very much a high-level conversation. And Trump is of the belief that whether Biden gave them that money as a grant or not, he sees it as a loan. And he says, we're going to end the war. We're going to get repaid for what we gave you, right? Yeah. And you're going to take it. Or we walk. So we're going to play some of these clips. I'm not going to play the whole thing because people can watch the whole thing. It's like 7 minutes long.
Yeah, it's magical and annoying to watch at the same time. Like, you look at Zelensky, and he's being obstinate in this whole thing. Like that messed up, angry teenager that's like, no. Right? Or maybe a 4-year-old.
And there were also a lot of telling moments.
Yeah.
One where Trump says, you're not going to win. You're not winning.
I know.
He kind of ignores it. Trump says, you're not winning. And you can see he pauses. He's like there were some moments. Let's watch this one. This is
I know.
This is Trump. It's about a minute long. I don't know if we can get to the part where it really started going down. Well, I think J.D. Vance. We should watch the J.D. Vance one first because that's when it started going downhill. And realize Zelensky is here for really 2 reasons: to sign on the dotted line and to say thank you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
What became very obvious here is that Zelensky was more interested in using the seat in the Oval Office to kind of put his message out there to the United States and to the whole world. Yeah. And that's when it really started going downhill. It also started going really downhill when, instead of referring to J.D. Vance as Mr. Vice President, he kept referring to him as JD, whereas Trump was Mr. President.
Yeah.
And both of them were referring to Zelensky as Mr. President. So he starts JD condescendingly. Here's the JD Vance thing, and this kind of started off, got the ball rolling.
Yeah.
About the kind of diplomacy that's going to end the destruction of your country.
Yes, but if you are
Mr.
not
President,
strong...
Mr. President, with respect, I think it's disrespectful for you to come into the Oval Office and try to litigate this in front of the American media. Right now, you guys are going
That was a great point.
around and forcing conscripts to the front lines because you have manpower problems. You should be
What?
thanking the President for
Have you
trying to
ever
bring
been-
an end to this
Have
conflict.
you ever been to Ukraine that you say what problems we have?
I have been to.
Come once.
I've actually watched and seen the stories, and I know what happens is you bring them on a.
So this line of, oh, have you ever been to Ukraine? No,
Yeah.
he's the vice president of the United States. He's not
Right.
going to an active international war zone.
Warzone. Yeah.
It's not happening. And the United States intelligence establishment exists so that he doesn't have to go to the front lines. So that he can be educated on this issue without having to put on a flak jacket or a bulletproof vest and walk into an active war zone. It's insane. And and Zelensky's over here shaking his head. They are conscripting people. That is
Yes.
an absolute fact. And listen, any country that was in this situation would do the same. If we were in this situation, we would have had a draft. Absolutely. People would have been drafted against their will.
Yeah.
But for him to shake his head, we're not conscripting people against, it's provable. We know it's happening, and they've run out of the volunteers. They've run out of the International Legion, and now they're conscripting people. And when you get to that level, you're not getting the best soldiers. You're getting warm bodies.
Yeah. Yeah. They they just really become fodder. I mean, you see what happens with the North Koreans from the
Yeah.
Russian side.
Yeah.
They don't even know. None of these people have held a gun before in their lives. You know, it's crazy.
Brian Herzog on YouTube. Go ahead, comment on
Yeah,
YouTube.
yeah,
YouTube comments get to us. We also get Rumble comments. The X comments don't come to us on StreamYard, but YouTube or Rumble comment. We'll respond to you. He's defending his country and not submitting to Trump. That is a very short-sighted view of this. He's there to end the war, right? He is not there to score like morality points. Like it's almost like Zelensky would have been happy to walk out of that White House meeting with Trump saying that Vladimir Putin is a bad guy. Right? I mean, that's kind of the stuff they got stuck up on more than let's end the war. Right?
Yeah.
He's stuck on this. He's saying, well, we can't trust Vladimir Putin. Probably not. You craft the deal in a way that if he breaks the deal, there are huge consequences. Right? But Zelensky seemed very clear, like he was not coming in here for a deal. And you're arguing in bad faith at that point.
And Donald Trump, like, he's dealt with good deals and bad deals, but if you've worked out a deal with the man and then you renege on that in the middle of the press conference, essentially.
Well, this wasn't the press conference. They were supposed to have a press conference. This was supposed to just be like 2 or 3 questions, and it went off the rails.
Hold on. Okay, so the context, this wasn't the press conference?
No. Press conference is canceled.
This is getting juicy.
No. One of the clips, Trump says, okay, one more question. And then all of this happens. Right? Because they were supposed to do this. They were supposed to go have lunch. They were supposed to have the signing ceremony.
They didn't even
and then they were supposed to have a bilateral press conference with the podium standing in front of the press.
They didn't even get to the first stage.
They didn't even get to lunch. Josh, the Trump staffers kicked all the Ukrainians out, and they ate their lunch. Like, literally, they ate their lunch.
Wow.
Upstairs, eating the lunch.
I bet it was good, too.
Yeah.
I bet it was like a great lunch, man. Like, it was like the guy back, one of the interns is like, it was totally worth it.
Yeah. So, I mean, and apparently, according to Fox News, the Ukrainians were begging, let's just reset. Let's just go to lunch, reset, we'll come out, and we'll fix this. And Donald Trump said no. And here is the Truth Social and tweet that Donald Trump put out explaining it. Let me zoom in. A statement from President Donald J. Trump. We had a very meaningful meeting in the White House today. Much was learned that could never be understood without conversation under such fire and pressure. It's amazing what comes out through emotion, and I've determined that President Zelensky is not ready for peace if America is involved because he feels our involvement gives him a big advantage in negotiations. I don't want advantage, I want peace. He disrespected the United States of America and its cherished Oval Office. He can come back when he is ready for peace.
Wow. Like, I never thought that I would be saying this, but Donald Trump is probably one of the best statesmen we've had in generations. I mean, he during this whole breakdown, he says you didn't insult me. You insulted the American people and the office. He's thinking outside of himself. Which president's done that in a long time? And to see this kind of answer,
Yeah.
I mean, it's an impressive sort of answer.
And this answer is, you're here. We're here to strike a deal. We're here to end the war in your country. And yeah, you're going to give us some mineral rights because we gave you hundreds of billions of dollars. So
To
yeah,
exist.
yeah, right. Like, so like the whole thing as I'm reading this, it reminds me of the saying, "He who pays the piper picks the tune."
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
The United States paid the piper for Ukraine. Ukraine doesn't get to go say, okay, here's some requests. No, the United States decides how this goes now. It really isn't complicated. The only thing it seems to be complicated for are the people who genuinely believe the United States should just be giving money away because Ukraine is good, Russia is bad, and therefore we give an unlimited amount of money away. So we haven't even. JD Vance kept going. Let's keep going.
The tour, Mr. President. Do you disagree that you've had problems bringing people into your military?
We have problems.
And do you think that it's
I
respectful
will answer.
to come to the Oval Office of the United
answer.
States of America and attack the administration that is trying to prevent the destruction of your country?
A lot of questions.
So you see, JD Vance says, "Do you think it's good to come into the White House and attack the administration to try to help you?" You see Trump there. He goes over. This is why. And I'm gonna see if I can pull the video from there was remember the testy Oval Office meeting between Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, Donald Trump was there. Remember when they're arguing about the government shutdowns?
Yeah.
People don't realize it. Mike Pence was also there.
Yeah.
And he pretty much said nothing. He was a fly on the wall.
Yeah.
Back in the first Trump term. Here, JD Vance is in here, and no, he's stepping forward. Some might say he stepped forward a little bit too much, but I think it's fine. And obviously Donald Trump supported it. And what this does is it gives Trump a chance to have someone else say the talking points, say the position.
Yeah.
And Donald Trump can look at Zelensky. He's not worried about talking. He can just look and watch. He can watch his body language. He can watch his expressions. And so I think part of the reason that Donald Trump kicked him out and said it's done is because he got to see stuff from Zelensky that he might not have caught up if it was just him talking. Because he would have been looking around the room. He would have been looking at reporters, right? He's able to sit there and watch. And the body language from Zelensky of this child who was promised a pony and is demanding it. It's a bad look. Here's Zelensky's answer.
Let's start from the beginning.
Sure.
First of all, during the war, everybody has problems. Even you, but you have nice ocean and don't feel now, but you will feel it in the future. God bless.
You don't know.
Then there it was.
You don't
God
know
bless.
that.
You will not have a war.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because
I'm
you're in no
answering on this
position to
question.
dictate that.
That's
Remember
exactly
this.
what
I'm not
You're in
dictating.
no position to dictate what we're going to feel.
Wow.
We're going to feel very
You will
good.
feel influenced.
We're going to feel
I'm
very
Influence?
good and very
You
strong.
will feel influence.
You're right now not in a very good position. You've allowed
From the
yourself
very-
to be in a
from
very
the very
bad position,
beginning
and he
of the
happens
war.
to be right about
From
it.
the very beginning of the war.
You're not
Mr.
in a
Brown,
good position.
I
You don't
was
have
in
the cards right now. With us, you start
I'm
having
not playing
cards.
cards.
But right now, you
I'm
don't.
very
Yeah, you're playing
serious,
cards.
Mr. President.
You're
I'm
playing
very
cards.
serious.
You're gambling
I'm the
with the
president
lives
in
of
war.
millions of people.
You think-
You're gambling with World War III.
what are you
You're
thinking about?
gambling with
What are you
World
thinking
War
about?
III. And
You-
what you're doing is very disrespectful to the country, this country.
That spot
It's
right
with
there.
back
all
to you.
respect to your
Far
country.
more than a lot of people said
very
they
respect.
should have.
Have you said thank you once?
A
This
lot
entire
of
meeting?
times.
No, in this
Even
entire meeting,
today.
have you said thank
Even
you?
today.
You went to Pennsylvania and campaigned for the opposition in October. Offer some words of appreciation for
What-
the United
what
States
are
of
you
America
speaking about?
and the president.
That's
Ooh.
something that a lot of
Ooh.
people are forgetting.
Yeah.
I'm going to see if I can pull up the picture. In October, right before the election, Zelensky traveled to Pennsylvania
Sure did.
and inspected a artillery shell manufacturing, right?
Didn't somebody sign one of those? What, like the governor of the state of Pennsylvania? Didn't he sign one of those shells with Zelensky in
Yeah.
the room?
Yeah.
As I remember you showing that picture. I remember it was on this show. And that's really interesting.
So you got all Democrat politicians. You got Shapiro, governor of Pennsylvania.
That's right.
And here is the share screen.
Let's see it.
That was right before an election. So, like, he didn't go to Texas, right?
Yeah.
He didn't go to Kansas, where there are arms manufacturing facilities, right? He didn't go to Lake City.
Pennsylvania.
Is that the one? Who makes all the bullets? Is that Lake City?
Lake City Brass. Yeah, I think it was. But he doesn't go to anywhere except for probably one of the most important swing states in that whole election.
Yeah.
Like, how many, they thought that the whole election might hinge on Pennsylvania or Michigan, right?
Yeah, he could have gone to the Lake City Army ammunition plant, which is in Missouri. He could have gone there, right? He could have gone lots of places. He went to Pennsylvania in an election year with a Kamala Harris surrogate, Shapiro, almost the presidential nominee, if he wasn't Jewish, would have gotten it. It's a question that, and you hear Zelensky say, "What are you talking? What do you mean?" Maybe he is just that dense that he didn't realize he was being played last November, that they were bringing him in to try and bolster Democrat support. That's entirely possible.
Like a deep Ukrainian state. He's just the puppet, right?
Yeah.
Which would be even weirder.
Yeah. So I have a duplicate clip, but here's another clip from Trump as this keeps going off the rails a little bit.
I don't know what happened, but he didn't break them with me. He wants to make a deal. I don't know if you can make a deal. The problem is I've empowered you to be a tough guy. And I don't think you'd be a tough guy without the United States. And your people are very brave. But you're either going to make a deal or we're out. And if we're out, you'll fight it out. I don't think it's going to be pretty, but you'll fight it out. But you don't have the cards. But once we sign that deal, you're in a much better position. But you're not acting at all thankful. And that's not a nice thing. I'll be honest, that's not a nice thing. All right, I think we've seen enough. What do you think? Huh? This is going to be great television, I will say that.
Yeah, it sure is.
We'll see what we can do about putting it together.
Did it feel like a boardroom to you more than an Oval Office? Because it felt like, and this is the first time I've seen the vice president and the president not only on like the same page, but they went to this negotiation knowing everything together.
Oh, yeah.
Which is interesting.
This was bad cop, bad cop.
The good cop is the Ukrainian ambassador going, stop.
And you pulled a clip of the Ukrainian ambassador. This is Ukraine's ambassador to the United States. As we said, these things are set up by people under them, right? So all of the hard work is done by the ambassador, their staff, the State Department, the Foreign Ministry, in the case of Ukraine, all of these people spending hours, weeks, months getting this together.
No sleep, staying up night and day getting this crap done, gang. It takes forever to do.
Red eyes, cross transatlantic flights, all this, right? And then they basically, okay, we did it all. We teed it up for you. Just take a swing, right? and what Zelensky's doing, instead of just taking the swing, he's arguing with the ump before the bats even started. Right?
He hasn't even gotten to the thing yet.
He's got ejected before the bat even started. Here's the clip that Josh pulled of the Ukrainian ambassador.
Because you get a ceasefire faster than
She's like this.
She's destroyed, Max. Like, she's just watched everything she worked on come down in a fire, right? From the sky. It's just horrible. I feel bad for her. I do.
And here's the thing. Even if Donald Trump is vain and he shouldn't have done this and he shouldn't have acted like this, Zelensky should know this.
Yeah.
Right? And so if you're going in saying, I need one thing, peace for my people, then you swallow your pride and you do whatever you have to. Now, I don't think Donald Trump is as vain as the media saying you need to come and kiss the ring. I don't think that's what it's about. I think Donald Trump believes that we've been ripped off. But even if you believe the propaganda that, Donald Trump only cares about himself, kiss the ring, tell him how wonderful he is, right? And then get what you want. If the goal is peace for your people, you do that. Because Zelensky got, You know, Zelensky got the briefing. Hell,
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
got the briefing from Lindsey Graham.
What?
All right. So, what I think? Complete, utter disaster. I've been to Ukraine 8 or 9 times since the war started. I understand the consequences of Putin's actions against Ukraine. I appreciate what the Ukrainian people have done. They fought like tigers. At the end of the day, I was hoping that this minerals deal, which would be transformative in the relationship, would go over well. I talked to Zelensky this morning. Don't take the
Wow.
bait. President Trump was in a very good mood last night. Somebody asked me, am I embarrassed about Trump? I have never been more proud of the president. I was very proud of J.D. Vance, standing up for our country. We want to be helpful. What I saw in the Oval Office was disrespectful, and I don't know if we can ever do business with Zelensky again. I think most Americans saw a guy that they would not want to go in business with. The way he handled the meeting, the way he confronted the president was just over the top. So I think the relationship between Ukraine and America is important, vitally important. But can Zelensky do a deal with the United States? After what I saw, I don't know.
Wow.
When you lose him.
Yeah.
He's been to Ukraine 8 or 9 times. I'm pretty sure last weekend when they had that, or maybe the weekend before that, when they had that big powwow in Europe, I'm pretty sure Lindsey Graham was there. Yeah. He's been one of the biggest cheerleaders for Ukraine. Wow. When you lose him, you know you effed up. And listen what he said in it. He said, I called Zelensky. I told him, don't take the bait. Get peace for your people. Sign the deal. Donald Trump was in a good mood last night. He's being coached by the Americans on what to do. So he knew what he was supposed to do. Instead, what you got was a Zelensky who, to use the comparison I said at the beginning of the show, he's arguing with his wife and he cares more about being right than having a happy life. Happy wife, happy life. He'd rather be right and sleep on the couch than have a happy wife. I mean, that's what Zelensky just did.
Yeah. To see the kind of emotion coming out of Lindsey Graham there, it made me think that he felt like he'd been so duped. I think Lindsey Graham feels personally betrayed here. You know, I think Zelensky was probably telling people he was going to come in and accept the deal. Zelensky probably sounded like he was on pace to make sure they take the deal.
Yeah.
So what happened in between going to sleep last night and getting to this meeting happened to change the outcome of Zelensky's tune. And what does Lindsey Graham mean by taking the bait? The bait from who? I mean, the Americans weren't baiting him.
The bait from Trump. The bait from Trump of, we've given you $350 billion. Zelensky says, no, it was only 175. Like, that's the bait. Like, this need to fact check. And this is something that we've all kind of fallen into. Like, oh, fact check. Sometimes the fact check is the least important thing. Right?
Yeah, right.
It doesn't matter if they are talking past each other the entire time. If you put ink to paper and you make the deal and you get peace for your people, then what the hell does it matter who got the last word in on whether it was $350 billion or 175? What the hell does it matter, right? What the hell does it matter whether you got Donald Trump to admit that Vladimir Putin is a terrible person? What mediator could possibly mediate a deal if one side is telling him to badmouth the other? That's just not how it works, right? It's not how it works if you want mediation, right? So it became very obvious. One of two things happened. Either Zelensky negotiated all this in bad faith and never had any intention of signing that deal and just wanted to grandstand, wanted the Oval Office to be able to project his message around the world, or he is just such a mental midget that he can't even see the long term, and he gets stuck in the fact check, right? One of those two things happened. But you know who the real losers of this are? The Ukrainian people.
People, you bet. Because he put a price on every single one of them. You know, Zelensky has put a price on every single citizen. Zelensky also, I'll take it a step further, he decided to put his own ego ahead of the Ukrainian people's very existence. Ukraine could cease to exist if Russia just rolls over him now. And Zelensky, he just made that choice for all of them. For what? Ego?
Yeah.
So,
ego,
it's not
but
about peace.
Also, he is trying to avoid handing over unrealized assets. Said this on the last podcast.
Yeah, absolutely.
Donald Trump isn't asking for cash. He isn't asking for slave labor. He is asking for a percentage of the minerals that are in the earth, right? Minerals, by the way, that are essential to defense production. You want more weapons? Guess what? We need to be able to build those weapons. So it's not even like a selfish thing. Even look forward into a future where Russia breaks the deal, war erupts again, and the United States has to come in and help them again. Well, how do you think we're going to build those weapons? How do you think we're going to build that AI infrastructure to be able to launch cyber warfare? We need the rare earth minerals. So Zelensky is not only unwilling to accept that he owes the United States money, he's unwilling to offer up unrealized assets. Those are things in the ground that haven't even been dug up yet. They might not even be there.
Yes. Right? They might not even be there. That's the other piece of it, is that, you know, if they're not there, you won't get blood from a stone. It just won't happen. So, I mean, this is the best outcome Zelensky could hope for before the blood really starts to flow. They've been in a war, and Ukraine, again, the Ukrainian people have fought bravely, but I don't want this to be the end of them because of Zelensky.
Look at this from Eye Patch McCain, Dan Crenshaw, second only to Nancy Pelosi in the stock market as a member of Congress. Quote, if you are a leader of a country in a dire situation with no path to peace without American support, do not come into the Oval Office and argue with the President of the United States in public. Just a word of advice. So when you've lost Eye Patch McCain, when you've lost Dan Crenshaw... Right?
Did you come up with one?
Again, he used to be a darling of the conservatives, and he's kind of revealed himself to more be a neocon, kind of defense industry kind of puppet. No, not puppet. He's rah, 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 let's spend more money.
Yeah.
When you lose him, you know you lost.
And the thing is like, I'm sure Chuck Schumer's sitting there going, damn, the president did a great job. I can't say anything positive about it.
No. On Twitter, it's like, we stand with Ukraine. Everyone's saying they stand with Ukraine. Everyone's saying they stand with Ukraine. You know what they're not doing? They're not opening up their checkbooks.
No.
Standing with Ukraine, it's a nice little photo op, right? It doesn't feed soldiers. It doesn't put petrol in the engines, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't put bullets in the gun. You can stand with Ukraine until your legs fall asleep. But they're not pulling out their checkbooks. And what Donald Trump said there, the clip we just played, you either sign a deal or we're out.
Yeah. Chuck's good old Schumer saying Trump and Vance are doing Putin's dirty work. Like that's 3 hours old. Dirty work. Like,
yeah. It's so stupid.
Trump could be like healing the sick, right? And Chuck Schumer would be like, well, he's hurting the people he hasn't healed yet, right? That would be...
Right after it happened, U.S. State Department terminates U.S. support of Ukraine energy grid restoration.
Ooh.
The United States was almost single-handedly rebuilding Ukraine's energy grid that Russia destroyed.
Oh.
So this little grandstand from Zelensky, he traded his people's access to reliable energy.
Just so he could look tough? Was he trying to look tough? I mean, he was trying. Remember last week when we were talking, I'm like, what kind of card did this guy actually have?
Yeah.
You know, what chips does he have? I think maybe we said that on Wednesday or whatever. But he came in, and this is the chip he played. Like, you're going to feel that. You're going to feel this. You've got a comfortable ocean between you. Like, that's a Vladimir Putin statement, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So why would Zelensky be quoting Putin?
No, it's... I love this headline we pulled out from the Babylon Bee. Babylon Bee strikes again. Zelensky tries bold new strategy of insulting the people he's begging for money from.
I saw that one. I laughed.
Yeah, yeah.
It just felt like it was a waste of the president's time. It was the waste of the American people's time. I think when this war started, the Ukrainian people were very desperate, and then there was an opportunity that popped up, and Zelensky's taking advantage of that opportunity. He's holding on to power. He's chasing more money, and he thinks he has more leverage than he does, and he just got a slap in the face from Donald Trump. Like the hair came across his face and whipped him hard and said, "Listen, you don't have crap." Yeah, I mean, he's like, "You don't even have soldiers. You guys are in big trouble," I think is what he kept saying. "You're in big trouble." He pretty much undressed Zelensky in front of the world because we have our own intelligence. Our satellites are watching every square inch of Ukraine right now. At least I'm sure there's plenty going on there, right? So he knows. And Zelensky's, I mean, why would you avoid a chance for peace?
I want to play
any
something.
chance.
I want to play something. This is making the rounds. I cannot confirm or deny whether this is. People are saying that Zelensky, during this, while JD Vance was talking, he said under his breath, I believe it's pronounced Shuka, which Cyka, apparently in Ukrainian, is the word for bitch. And so let's see if we can hear it. See if we can tell.
I have been to. I've actually watched and seen the stories, and I know what happens is you bring them on a propaganda tour. I've actually watched and seen the stories, and I know what happens is you bring.
He's busted.
They're saying that he says suka, which apparently I meant probably butchering it. I just listened to one app that pronounces this. Cyka, suka. It looks like what he's saying. If that's what he said, again, he's never getting a deal.
Right?
He's never getting a deal.
Did he call the vice president a bitch, or was he just so flabbergasted that JD Vance knew what was going on? He was like, bitch.
And again,
like an oh shit moment.
The United States has an entire intelligence establishment. We pay foreign assets. They have handlers. The handlers collect the intel from the assets. That's human. That's human and rumor intelligence that we collect from people. They pass it up the chain of command. It gets put in a memo, and it gets delivered to JD Vance's desk. That's not to mention the signals intelligence that we have, right, of actually intercepting communications. To tell the vice president you need to get on the ground. Like, how about you say thank you before you demand that we come into a war zone? How about that?
Well, hey, let's not forget, the only experience that Zelensky's had talking with an American president was the president that was just saying, okay.
Yeah, okay.
I'll do it. We're just going to be here for you, buddy. Right? And he's not getting that with Trump. He was woefully unprepared, or he was so arrogant that he threw everything away. I'm guessing the ambassador had hopes that he would just keep his mouth shut and keep it moving. And it didn't happen. It just didn't happen. So this is probably one of the worst political moves I've seen in modern American history, at least from, a country in desperate need.
Here's reporting from Jake Tapper, who is reporting from a pro-Ukraine expert. Let me just open up both of these images.
Jake Tapper? Jake
Tapper. Biden is completely with it. 2 days later, I'm writing a book about how Biden was never with it.
Never with it. And the cover-up. And the cover-up.
One pro-Ukraine expert, normally supportive of Zelensky, cautions that today's showdown should be seen as in a clear-eyed way. Ukraine is losing this war. Russia is making tens of thousands of drones per month, and Ukraine can't shoot them all down. Russia is making advances because Russia doesn't value human life, and it's okay to lose thousands of men a day. Ukraine can't keep up with that and shouldn't. There needs to be an end to this war, and there are only three ways out. 1, America can send military weapons and manpower and potentially starts World War III. 2, Ukraine can surrender and give in to Putin. Or 3, we give this ceasefire plan and deal that Trump is pushing a chance. I would go for option 3. Trump was talking about Ukraine getting land back that it had just lost yesterday. Zelensky knew the position of the Trump administration ahead of time. Perhaps this meeting was a trap, but it's one Zelensky could have easily avoided.
Unbelievable.
There was another moment in here that was a little funny, and it's kind of getting drowned out by everything. A reporter asked a stupid question, and Trump gave a pretty funny answer.
Russia breaks ceasefire.
What if Russia breaks ceasefire is the question from the reporter.
Russia breaks peace talks. What do you do then? I understand that.
Look, JD Vance is just like, whatever.
What are you saying?
She's asking, what if Russia breaks the ceasefire?
What if anything? What if a bomb drops on your head right now? Okay? What if they broke it? I don't know. They broke it with Biden because Biden, they didn't respect him. They didn't respect Obama. They respect me.
Zelensky raises his eyebrows like, yeah.
What if I want to find the other one from Trump.
I can see the look of disaster written on Zelensky's face. Like you can just see the worry. Like that brow is heavy. His brow is heavy. Oh, what a dumbass. At least he wears those cool shirts.
Yeah. At least he wears the same sweater every day.
Yeah.
Was that like a special forces sweater?
Probably. Why not? I mean, he's got a lot going on right now. You know?
I can understand that he doesn't want to look like an oligarch in a suit, but when you're in the Oval Office,
at least put on some khakis.
He could put a shirt on under the sweater, like with a tie, right? You could do lots of things to spruce it up. But here we go. Let me add this video. This was another moment that made me chuckle a little bit because Trump's 100% right.
That was with Obama, who gave you sheets, and I gave you javelins.
Yes.
I gave you the javelins to take out all those tanks. Obama gave you sheets. In fact, the statement is Obama gave sheets and Trump gave javelins. You got to be more thankful because let me tell you, you don't have the cards. With us, you have the cards. But without us, you don't have any cards.
Now, it's possible that got lost in translation because Trump didn't say bed sheets. If he had said bed sheets, that might have gone over a little bit. He would have understood what he's saying. Yeah. But there's a moment, let me see if I can find it, where Trump says bed sheets. There we go.
He says sheets, yeah. I was watching Zelensky's face. He's, there's obviously a translation thing in there.
Obama gave sheets and Trump gave javelins.
That look.
What?
Obama literally gave them blankets. Russia invaded.
Crimea. Yep.
Russia invaded Crimea, and Obama gave like humanitarian assistance. Here's some blankets. Here's some space heaters. Here's some lanterns. Here's some food, some MREs. Right. Donald Trump came into office and gave them javelins. Donald Trump was the one who actually gave them the means to defend themselves. Now Biden his people just gave them everything, right? But it wasn't until Donald Trump came in that Zelensky and Ukraine actually started getting lethal aid. Lethal aid. And he's not wrong. I don't know if Zelensky got the whole sheets because maybe he thinks papers, or maybe he understood it and that's why he raised his eyebrow. But you can tell Donald Trump's pissed because if you gave me, whether it's $350 billion or $175 billion, whatever it is, I would be there in a suit and tie.
At least, at a minimum.
I'd say thank you probably 100 times.
Yeah.
Especially if I had any intention of asking for more money.
And he's an actor. He's capable of doing a little dance if he had to, right? I mean, I would do a skit. I'd be like, well, if it's for penis.
I saw a video of him playing the piano with his penis. I'm sure he has lots of skill sets he could do as an actor. I don't know if that would fit into the Oval Office, but Zelensky is a man of acting.
It's probably not the decorum. I mean, if he's not going to show up in a suit, you never know. He might try to, like, after the lunch, be like, you guys want to see a really cool trick?
Yeah.
Put up the piano. Dun, dun, dun.
Want to see me play chopsticks? Dun, 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 dun,
and if it was funny, Trump would be there like, oh, that's not bad.
Want to see me play Heart and Soul?
Like, it goes up and down.
Yeah.
Like, I'm never going to play that again.
And here's the other thing, right? When Donald Trump goes abroad, it's Donald Trump. He needs to be front and center. He gives you the handshake. Did you see the handshake he had with Macron the other day? It was a never-ending handshake. It went on for days.
Well, that's the French, right? Like one doesn't want to stop before the other.
Trump is in a handshake war with Macron, stretching a decade.
That's classic. Macron's a weird looking dude. His hair is always perfect. Have you noticed?
Yeah.
Like that French dude's hair is always perfect. He's kind of a weird looking dude, but you know, I'd love to go see France.
Video.
So how like were they holding each other's gaze too? Like, hello there, big guy.
Trump's all about using the handshake to gain leverage. Literal leverage of like, and also just like emotional leverage. Here's the handshake.
Interesting. Look at that. He's got his hand a little bit higher. Oh, yeah, he kept it in there. Oh, no.
It's funny. And I saw this picture was making the rounds on social media of Macron's hand after the handshake. Patient. Jean-Michel Macron.
He's but a flesh wound.
Injury, Trump handshake. Yeah, I have another video I can play of the handshakes through the ages because when you've been friends with these world leaders for so much, there's so much good footage to go through. Here we go. Here is the handshakes. Look at the top one. Look how long it's going for.
I know. It's for the pictures. And Trump pulls him in all the time. Like he's got that little tug he does. He pulls you in and
they still haven't let go. They still haven't let go.
My God.
He's kissing the right. Wow. Now it's a double handshake.
Master negotiation. There he never gives up. Look, he still gave him a little pat and sent him away, right?
29 seconds. 29 seconds.
Like a 5-second handshake's a long handshake, right? Like it's a long handshake.
So that is Trump and Macron don't see eye to eye on a lot of things. They have tariff spats that come up every couple of months, right? But they can still get together and they treat each other with respect and decorum and a certain amount of pomp and circumstance, right? And this is America's oldest ally, all of that stuff, because they know it has to be done, even if they disagree on everything. They know that the relationship between the two countries is more important than anything they have going on, right?
Sure.
This guy doesn't seem to get that. He doesn't seem to get it. And I don't know if he has some kind of savior syndrome where he thinks he is the one who has to save his people.
Sure.
He said the other day he would resign if it meant peace for his people. He might have to do that after this meeting.
Yeah.
He might have to. Right?
He set it up on by his own. He's his own undoing.
Yes, and I'm sure it would suck to get in there and be like, yes, thank you. Can I have another? Yes, sure, I'll sign. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter whether he thinks he is won. It doesn't matter whether he thinks he won the argument. The only thing that should matter is bringing peace to his people. Period. Full stop.
Yeah.
Trump kicked him out. He's gone. But he is still doing an interview tonight. And you know more about that, right?
Yeah, he'll be on Brett Baier at 6 p.m. And I was like, man, he's just going to go straight to Fox after this.
My answer was just, when he texted me that, I said, yikes.
Yikes. Yeah, like, do you think Brett Baier's going to be easy on this one? I'm going to watch. I can't wait to see what happens, man. Like, he'll totally address him. You know what's really going to happen with Zelensky here is he's not only going to have to come back and say the thank you part, now he has to say, I'm sorry. Right? Now he has to say, I'm sorry, I was an a-hole. Like, Trump will make him do that. Like, I have no doubt that he will demand an apology now, a public apology.
And if they get back to the table,
the
mineral deal, whatever it is, if it was 50%, I guarantee you that number is crossed out and it's larger.
Yeah, absolutely. He's got a new Foursquare, like buying a car, right?
Like,
this is what you get now, right?
Yeah. Like, take it or leave it, right?
Yeah.
Donald Trump is a lot of things, but what you saw today was cutthroat businessman Donald Trump.
Yeah.
We're getting a deal or we're not. It's not, like you say, walk a car dealership. Worst thing you can ever do walking a car dealership is let them know you love the car.
Yeah.
Right? The minute they know you love the car, they got you, right? So that you have to be willing to walk away.
Yeah.
You can never go into a deal with the other side thinking you aren't willing to walk away. And Donald Trump said today, you either take the deal or you lose our support. Brian Zolo says on YouTube, yesterday's price isn't today's price. Yeah, probably not.
Wow.
So don't be surprised. Don't be surprised if that deal. I mean, that's what Donald Trump used to say. Whenever someone would come into his campaign rallies in 2016 and protest against border wall, he would laugh at them. He'd say, "Go home to mommy," and they'd say, "The wall just got 10 feet taller." Right? Like, we have entered into. I think they're going to write about this. Like every president, they write about his foreign policy, right?
Yeah.
They write about Nixon's foreign policy, right?
Yeah.
With re-engaging China. We talk about Eisenhower's foreign policy, like Cold War foreign policy. Donald Trump's foreign policy, they're not going to give it a fancy name. They're not going to give it a really flowing, flowery title. It's just going to be F around and find out. That is the central theme to all of this. And you can only have F around and find out foreign policy if you are willing to drop the hammer.
Yeah.
Right? Teddy Roosevelt, walk softly, carry a big stick.
Yeah.
What we've seen from the United States is an unwillingness to use, for lack of a better word, to use the stick.
Yeah.
Right? Donald Trump is F around and find out. Yeah, it's a willingness to walk away. It's a willingness to say, F you, price just got higher. It's a willingness to say, you know what, we're cutting you off.
I think other countries are now sitting here watching this, realizing that you get one shot with Donald Trump to get a deal now. You get one shot, right? And if anybody else has to come to the table for something, they're already going to come to the table with apprehension.
Yeah.
Because that whole madman with his finger on the nuclear button, that's not a bad view to have of a foreign leader. Because you got to be careful about what you do, because you never know if they will press that button, right? Yeah. It's the big stick piece of it. And it's a total change in American policy over the last 4 years.
Yeah.
And I also think people just aren't accustomed to seeing this kind of cutthroat stuff happening on camera. There was a point in the interview where Trump says, "I'm glad the American people are watching this. I want them to see what this is." That was kind of a weird transparency mode for Donald Trump. Like it was like something we've never had. What is this?
Statement by member of Ukrainian parliament, Alexander Dubinsky. The events of the past hours, the public humiliation of Zelensky at the White House, Trump acknowledgement of Zelensky's diplomatic failure, and Ukraine's loss of unconditional U.S. support have marked the final act of the regime's collapse. But Zelensky has not only failed in foreign policy, he has driven the country into a state where anyone who disagrees with his course faces repression. I was thrown into prison, not for a crime, but for speaking the truth, the very truth that Trump has now stated. Zelensky has lost. He has no cards left to play. He is running out of soldiers, and the country has reached a dead end due to his stubbornness. I demand the immediate convening of an emergency session of Parliament, where Parliament must initiate impeachment proceedings against Zelensky for the failure of foreign policy, which has led to Ukraine's international isolation and the loss of allied support, a lost war, which is the result of incompetent leadership and catastrophic decisions, violations of citizens' rights, and the usurpation of power manifested in the suppression of the opposition, persecution of dissenters, and authoritarian rule. I appeal to all members of the Ukrainian parliament. Stop wasting time. Stop waiting. Zelensky is bankrupt. Zelensky is not Ukraine. It's time to put him on trial. If he cannot offer a real way out of the crisis, then it's up to us to make fateful decisions. Zelensky thought he could rule Ukraine by force. He is now lost. Ukraine must decide, will it continue into its free fall into the abyss, or will it begin the fight for true independence? Now, I don't know this guy. He seems to be in opposition. Obviously, if they threw him in prison, he doesn't have a ton of power. But it doesn't seem like it's all rainbows and unicorns and happiness over in Ukraine.
Well, now there's an opportunity. Like, they see the weakness, right? It totally exposed Zelensky as a leader. And maybe he has been really repressive against getting other voices out there. Like I've said, he has still managed not to hold a vote for the presidency, and they're past due. So it's all coming to a head in Ukraine. I mean, they see.
Remember, they can't hold an election as long as there's.
I know.
War. So it's kind of this thing, like he cannot. Only their parliament can remove him, because in order for an election to happen, he would have to end the war. Or at least you can't have a war on and not have martial law. Otherwise, you'd have like just police officers fighting. No, he has control over when the war ends, and he cannot be voted out until the war ends unless he's impeached. It's kind of this catch 22 situation.
Sounds like they can impeach though.
Yeah, they can. And a lot of people saying, well, why would he wear a suit? There's a war on, don't you know? Well, interestingly enough, when he went to Israel in 2023, autumn of 2023, he wore a suit. So this was over a year after the invasion of Ukraine. He wore a suit. So he does own a suit. He does wear suits for world leaders. I guess just not for Trump and people he demands money from.
It's because it was a costume. It was the optics. He still has to look like he's at a ready state of war. No, you haven't. But is there one out there? Because that's what it is.
Yeah.
He's just trying to play the war card, right? He has to look the part. He's an actor. He knows how to pull on heartstrings.
Yeah, again, he knows how to play the piano with his penis. He's very, very able to do that.
With vodka, I'm sure he's amazing.
So you haven't seen the clip. You called it a costume.
With what?
That's what he called it today. He called it a
costume.
No. Yes,
really?
Yes. He called the suit a costume.
Why is he saying the quiet part out loud? That's stupid, man.
I thought you had watched it. Here we
I'm
go.
keying stuff up we didn't even know we had.
Why don't you wear a suit? Why don't
He asked him
You're
that?
the highest level in this country's office, and you refuse to wear a suit. Just want to see if do you own a suit?
Yeah, you have problems.
A lot of Americans have problems with you not
Really?
respecting.
I don't
the
have
dignity of
such.
this office.
I will wear a costume after this war will finish.
Okay.
Yes,
He will wear a
maybe
costume?
one.
I will wear a costume after this war is finished.
Maybe something like yours, yes. Maybe something better. I don't know. We will see. Maybe something cheaper than Thank you. Thank you for.
I don't know if he even understood that question.
No, he did. He did.
You think so?
Oh, yeah,
Because it was a really bad answer. I mean, it was a bad answer.
No, he got it. He said, I will wear a costume when war is over. That is, again, not true. He wore a suit to Israel in October of 2023. Late October of 2023. So he understood the need to not wear a sweater after Israel suffered a terrorist attack. But he doesn't understand the need to dress up a little bit, asking for billions more dollars from the American people without any offer of giving anything in return.
I never had this on my bingo card for 2025. I'm just going to say that right now. I expected maybe like a negotiated peace, but to see Zelensky come out and it's a massive failure, man. Like, if I was Ukrainian, I'd be at home saying, maybe it's time for change. Mm-hmm. It's kind of sad. I'm really worried that the Ukrainians don't survive now. I mean, there's real consequences here on a geopolitical scale that we can't begin to fathom. I do not want the destabilization of that part of the world because it's going to bring in other players. North Korea, China. I mean, do the BRICS nations jump in if Zelensky doesn't get something done here?
Who wants to spend any more blood or treasure on Ukraine after what you just saw from Zelensky? Right?
No one.
What country is going to send troops to Ukraine and spill blood for a guy who won't even say thank you? I mean, that's what it comes from, right? We're not asking him to get down on his knees and beg, right? But it didn't seem like he was thankful. And we were only able to play a couple minutes of this. There were about 40 minutes of videotape discussions.
Jeez.
It devolved in the last 10-ish minutes. But there are 40 minutes of calm discussion. And throughout this discussion, I encourage everyone to go back and watch it. Zelensky kept trying to push the envelope further. And every time he wanted to basically get something that was beyond what was pre-negotiated, Trump would just say, oh, we'll see, maybe, we'll see. Brush it along, right? If Donald Trump had acted like Zelensky, he would have said, absolutely not. He would have, right? But Donald Trump understands sometimes you can be wrong and still win, right? It's better to win than lose and be right. It started going downhill when Zelensky started making assertions that there can be no negotiating with Russia or Putin and that Russia must pay for the war. I'm sorry, he is not in a position to enact that outcome. Ukraine will not conquer Russia. It will not happen, right? Russia will throw people into the meat grinder until there's no one left on the Ukrainian side.
Yeah, that's what they
right?
do.
So
that's what they do.
It all went downhill when Zelensky went beyond what was negotiable, beyond what they wanted to talk about, because he wanted to score the points. He wanted to get the jabs in. Or he thought maybe if he was able to talk about this stuff, maybe he might get Trump to say, yeah, okay, sure. And then they'd get the soundbite, right? And hold him to it. I don't know what he thought, but it was an idiotic move on his part. He condemned his entire people.
Oh my God. And he couldn't even get through to lunch.
Yeah.
This is the sit down. This is the sit down, man. All he has to do is sit there and nod his head at this one and pretend he doesn't know how to speak English. And you save it for the behind closed doors.
Yeah.
Which I think JD Vance points out. But again, this is, we're dealing with, is he a bad man at this point? I mean, he's just condemned the Ukrainians to a slow, painful death, essentially.
Zelensky was minutes away from a victory. And it was J.D. Vance taking the Biden administration to task, taking the media to task, of painting this as Russia bad, Ukraine good. We have to come together and solve this. Zelensky wouldn't have it. And listen, if I was in Zelensky's shoes or I was in Ukraine's shoes and my country was invaded by Russia, right? I wouldn't have anything good to say about Russians either. But you have to be realistic and understand that there is no outcome here where Ukraine plants its flag in the Kremlin. It's not going to happen. It was very funny. I was on Twitter today, X today, and some Brits were like, oh, screw the Americans. We'll take out Putin himself. Just get a few Scots and we'll go take him out right now. And I just commented like, the dumbest thing that can ever be uttered is support for invading Russia in the winter. That's the dumbest thing. That is the dumbest thing that you can ever mention at all. Oh, let's invade Russia in the winter.
Good luck.
Zelensky, I haven't been a fanboy of Zelensky. I think he's made a lot of terrible decisions. I've been able to kind of rationalize some of his decisions as this is what he believes is necessary for his people. But seeing this performance from him and his unwillingness just to bite his tongue, get through the televised portion of the meeting, get to the lunch, hammer it out in the lunch, hammer it out in the bilateral talks.
Yeah.
He couldn't even get there. He couldn't even get there.
He's got probably, does he have the desire then to actually make that happen? I mean, the answer is no. No. And then he's going to go on Brett Pitt tonight.
Yeah, that's going to be must watch.
That's
I don't know if he has assurances from other countries. Like, I don't know if you saw it, but I'm trying to pull it up. But right after he left the White House, his X account was going on a spree of just thanking every world leader for expressing support towards Ukraine, all at the same time. Like, okay, well, he's trying to send a message there. But again, standing up with Ukraine isn't a case of bullets. Standing up with Ukraine is not a case of MRE. Standing up with Ukraine doesn't solve the fact that all of Europe combined doesn't manufacture enough artillery shells to make up even half of what Ukraine fires in a month. Think about that.
I know.
Think about that. Ukraine is firing twice as many artillery shells than all of Europe combined manufactures in a given month. That's insane.
Right. All right. The writing's on the wall. What do the Ukrainian people do? I mean, does he get, so now it's prediction time. Does he get kicked out? Is he going to be impeached? What's this going to look like by Monday? I mean, how long does this take?
If this was me and I just made such a catastrophic blunder, my people would be staring down the barrel of a gun and have nothing to fire back. And I knew that the way to fix it would be to step down. I would 100% step down.
Yeah.
Now, the difference is, will Zelensky do that? Does Zelensky have the decency to do that? Does he care more about his own legacy and his own status than he cares about his people? We'll see. Brian Zolo in the comment section says, regime change 100%.
It's most likely going to happen. I don't know, man. This is the craziest thing I've ever seen when it comes to bad diplomacy. Like, here's a textbook. Like, this is going to be watched in colleges in the future on how not to be a diplomat.
And they're trying to say it's Trump's fault. Watch the entire video. It really isn't. Donald Trump is letting the water flow off his back, right? He's taking it in stride. Zelensky's trying to push him towards security guarantees and taking a tougher stance with Russia. So, oh, well, maybe we'll talk about that. We'll see. The diplomatic way to go about it. Zelensky, he had rage in his eyes when J.D. Vance talked about the moralistic view of like Russia bad, Ukraine good. Yeah. That it set him off, and he and again the video of the poor Ukrainian.
Oh, that poor thing. I know, man. Like she's crushed. Yeah. I feel really bad for her. Watching the second time here and third times before, I'm like, oh my god, all that down the train.
She might have been the only person in that room who truly grasped the damage that Zelensky did today.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's not a politician. She's working in a wartime regime trying to save her people. This is not a fancy post. This is
right.
Hard work. This is not a political appointee hobnobbing with the donors, right? Going to parties. No, this is hard diplomatic work. Engaging Congress and the executive branch. And everything wasted.
Just flushed down the toilet, man. That poor thing. What does Monday look like? What does Monday look like?
Do we get to Monday? Do we get to tonight? I don't know. But when news breaks, we will cover it. If this is your first time watching us, give us a thumbs up. Give us a like. Give us a follow. Give us a subscription. We're on YouTube. We're on Rumble. We're on X. Follow us. Great to have people watching us. Big news day today. We also have the audio edition of the podcast. It's available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Podbean, Audible. All those links in the description. Give us a subscription there. Give us a follow there. That way you can listen to our show as you go about your day, your commute, you're doing chores, whatever. We try and make it as audio friendly as possible. That's it for this edition. My name is Max McGuire.
I'm Josh Hammerling.
Remember, the fight to take back the country is not over yet, but the only way we win is if we all stand up and fight together. See you next time.